Artificial intelligence is advancing faster than expected. Only a few years ago it was a tool used mostly by engineers and researchers. Now governments are paying close attention. Security agencies, political leaders, and technology experts are all asking the same question. If artificial intelligence keeps evolving this quickly, who will actually control it? For most people, artificial intelligence seemed to appear almost overnight. One year it was a niche technology used mainly by researchers and engineers. The next year it was everywhere. Writing emails, generating images, answering questions, analyzing information. Suddenly AI was no longer hidden inside laboratories or tech companies. It had entered everyday life. Students began using it to study. Businesses used it to speed up work. Programmers used it to write code faster than before. Even people who had never heard the term machine learning were interacting with AI without realizing it. But the real story isn't just about convenience. What changed in the last few years is the speed of development. Artificial intelligence systems are improving at a pace that surprised even many of the scientists who helped build them. New models appear every few months, each capable of handling more data and producing more complex results. Tasks that once required human expertise can now be done by algorithms in seconds. At first this looked like a normal technological boom. Something similar happened with the internet in the 1990s and with smartphones a decade later. But artificial intelligence is different in one important way. Most technologies help humans do things faster. Artificial intelligence can begin doing things instead of humans. It can analyze information, generate strategies, write reports, and assist in scientific research. In some areas it already performs better than people in narrow tasks. That creates a new kind of question. If machines begin making decisions, who takes responsibility for those decisions? And how much control do humans really keep over systems that grow more complex every year? These discussions once belonged mainly to universities and research labs. Now they are appearing in government meetings and political briefings. Because the issue is no longer only technological. It is becoming geopolitical. The country that leads in artificial intelligence could gain enormous advantages in economics, intelligence analysis, and military strategy. And that realization is starting to change how governments look at AI. The technology that once looked like a useful tool is now being treated as something far more serious. Something that could shape the balance of power in the future. For a long time, governments mostly watched the development of artificial intelligence from the sidelines. Tech companies were building the systems. Universities were researching them. Investors were funding the expansion. Politicians rarely paid much attention. AI looked like another digital tool, similar to search engines or social media platforms. But that perception started to change. The turning point came when artificial intelligence systems began showing abilities that few people expected so quickly. Language models could suddenly write complex text. Image generators could create realistic pictures in seconds. AI tools could analyze enormous datasets and discover patterns humans might miss. In other words, the technology was no longer just assisting people. It was beginning to perform tasks that once required trained professionals. That shift caught the attention of governments. Not because the technology was interesting, but because it was powerful. Artificial intelligence has the potential to influence economies, labor markets, information systems, and national security. And once a technology reaches that level of influence, governments cannot ignore it. Imagine a system capable of analyzing millions of intelligence reports in seconds. Or an algorithm that can detect cyber attacks faster than human analysts. Or automated systems helping coordinate complex military logistics. These possibilities are not science fiction. Many of them are already being tested. That is why political leaders began asking a different set of questions. Who is building these systems? Who controls the data that trains them? And what happens if the most powerful AI tools are concentrated in the hands of only a few companies or countries? Because once artificial intelligence becomes a strategic technology, it stops being only a business innovation. It becomes a matter of national power. And history shows that when technologies influence global power, governments move quickly to regulate, control, or compete over them. Which is exactly what we are beginning to see today. New laws, regulatory proposals, international discussions, and quiet negotiations between governments and major technology companies. All focused on one issue. Artificial intelligence is moving fast. And political leaders are trying to understand how to manage something that may soon be far more powerful than the systems that exist today. As governments began paying closer attention to artificial intelligence, another conversation started to appear behind the scenes. Not about innovation, but about risk. For decades, technology usually created predictable problems. Computers could be hacked. Networks could fail. Software sometimes made mistakes. But artificial intelligence introduces something different. Systems that can learn, adapt, and operate in ways that are not always easy to predict. At first, this did not seem alarming. Most AI tools were limited to narrow tasks. They could recommend videos, filter spam emails, or help translate languages. But the new generation of AI systems is far more capable. They can write convincing text, generate realistic images, analyze complex data, and make suggestions that influence real decisions. That raises a difficult question. What happens when these systems make mistakes? A human error can often be traced to one person. A decision can be explained, reviewed, or corrected. Artificial intelligence does not always work that way. Many modern AI systems operate as complex networks trained on enormous amounts of data. Even the engineers who build them sometimes struggle to explain exactly how a specific decision was produced. That lack of transparency worries regulators and security experts. Imagine an AI system recommending financial decisions that affect markets, or algorithms shaping the information people see online, or automated systems helping coordinate defense operations. If those systems behave unexpectedly, the consequences could spread very quickly. Another concern is manipulation. Artificial intelligence can generate convincing text, audio, and images at scale. That means misinformation campaigns could become far more sophisticated. Fake news, synthetic voices, fabricated videos all produced faster than humans can verify them. For governments responsible for national security, that possibility is taken very seriously. And then there is the long-term concern that some researchers quietly discuss. What happens if artificial intelligence becomes too complex to fully understand or control? Most experts agree that scenario is not an immediate threat. But the rapid pace of development has made the question harder to dismiss. Technology that improves every few months can evolve much faster than political systems designed to regulate it. Which means governments may soon face a challenge they have never dealt with before. A powerful technology advancing at global scale while the rules for controlling it are still being written. As concerns about artificial intelligence grow, another dynamic is quietly shaping the future of this technology. Competition. Not just between companies, between countries. Throughout history, whenever a technology promised major economic or military advantages, nations began competing to control it. Nuclear technology created one kind of global race. Space exploration created another. Artificial intelligence may become the next one. Because the country that leads in AI development could gain enormous strategic advantages. Advanced AI systems could help analyze intelligence data faster than human analysts. They could assist in cyber defense, identify vulnerabilities in digital infrastructure, and respond to attacks in real time. In the economic world, AI can also reshape entire industries. Automation can increase productivity, reduce costs, and accelerate research in areas like medicine, energy, and manufacturing. That combination of economic and strategic power makes artificial intelligence extremely valuable. Which is why governments are no longer treating it as just another tech industry. In the United States, major technology companies are building increasingly powerful AI systems with support from enormous private investment. In China, the government has openly declared artificial intelligence a national priority. European countries are focusing more on regulation and safety, attempting to create rules that could influence how AI develops globally. Each approach reflects a different strategy. Some countries prioritize speed. Others prioritize control. But they are all reacting to the same reality. Artificial intelligence could become one of the defining technologies of the 21st century. And no major power wants to fall behind. That pressure creates a complicated situation. Governments want innovation. They want economic growth and technological leadership. At the same time, they worry about the risks. Too much regulation could slow development. Too little oversight could allow powerful systems to spread without proper safeguards. So political leaders are trying to balance two opposing goals. Move fast enough to stay competitive, but carefully enough to avoid losing control. And that balance may determine how artificial intelligence shapes the future of global power. So where does all of this lead? Artificial intelligence is no longer just a research project or a convenient digital tool. It is becoming infrastructure. Something that could influence how economies function, how information spreads, and how governments make decisions. That is why political leaders, technology companies, and security experts are all trying to understand the same thing. How powerful will these systems actually become? Right now, artificial intelligence still depends on humans. Engineers design the models. Companies build the infrastructure. Governments create the legal frameworks that determine how the technology can be used. But every new generation of AI systems becomes more capable than the last. They process larger datasets, recognize more complex patterns, and generate results that look increasingly human. That rapid progress creates uncertainty. Some experts believe artificial intelligence will mostly remain a powerful tool, something that improves productivity and helps solve complex problems in science, medicine, and engineering. Others worry that the technology could evolve faster than the systems designed to regulate it. And history shows that technological change rarely moves in a straight line. Sometimes innovation solves problems. Sometimes it creates new ones that nobody predicted. That is why governments around the world are beginning to treat artificial intelligence as a strategic issue rather than a purely technical one. They are funding research, proposing regulations, negotiating international standards, and holding quiet discussions with the companies building the most advanced systems. Not because anyone has all the answers, but because the technology is moving forward whether political systems are ready or not. Which leaves one final question. Artificial intelligence will almost certainly become more powerful in the coming years. The real uncertainty is something else entirely. Will humans learn how to manage that power before it begins shaping the world faster than we can understand it?